Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our meeting in English. It happens once a month. Every second Monday of the month, we have our meetings in English. We've been this has been happening for I don't know exactly how much time, but 15 years, 16 years, something like that. And um, we've been we've been doing it for quite a while. So, but tonight we have something different. Not for us here. Here everything will be the same as we've been doing for a little while. But tonight it marks the first time that we are not only doing this live presentation online to our channels, because I don't know if you know, but when we are here in English, this is being transmitted online. So for the case when you're not here, you want to watch, you can go online and watch it live on YouTube or on Facebook. Um, After it's over, it's there. It's always there. It's gonna hopefully gonna be there forever, or as forever as it can be, right? Um, but tonight we are starting to put this meeting also on Kardec Radio, which is a another YouTube channel of this, as they usually say, it's a place to nourish your soul. It's a place to nourish our souls, and they've been doing programs on the radio, on the internet, and on their YouTube channels for a very long time as well. So tonight, it marks the first time where our meetings will also be in English and transmitted through Kardec Radio. So I don't know how many people are watching now. I don't know if there's people watching now live. If they are, welcome to our meetings here in English at Cantinho de Luis, which if we wanted to translate it, we call it the Little Spot of Light Spiritist Center, Spiritist Group. That's how we like to call it. But in Portuguese, we say it Cantinho de Luis anyway. So um, the group, and this is just for those who are online on Kardec Radio, the group has been working here since 2012. And after a few years, we started this meeting in English. And once a month, we are here. So next month, second Monday, March, second Monday. So every second Monday of the month, we have a meeting in English here. And from now on, it will also be on Kardec Radio. So welcome everybody. And we are very happy to be doing this for more people. Hopefully more people will watch. Hopefully more people will have another take on what Spiritism has to offer to all of us. So having said that, I'd like to thank especially Vanessa, which was the one person that asked us if we could do this for Kardec Radio, and we said of course. We did a few things with them for a while ago, and she said that if we wanted, if we could do that, and I said, yeah, of course, why not? Spiritism is worth spreading, so let's do it. So tonight, I'm just gonna be doing these initial remarks, and I'm gonna invite Fabio, I think, right? Yep, to read and to read the message. And then Hendrick is going to be here talking to us as well our about the gospel according to Spiritism. So let's do our prayer, and then Fabio will come. Do you want to come do the prayer too, or can I do it? Okay, um, so if we want to close our eyes, to raise our thoughts, open our hearts and our minds to the good spirits that are always surrounding us and bringing us hope, bringing us joy, bringing us the love that our dear friend Jesus is always sending us. We would like tonight to give a big thanks, even more thankful we are for being here, because tonight we are helping spread even to an even wider audience the message of love, the message of understanding, the message of transformation, the message of who we are, but also, and most importantly, of who we want to be. And we would like to ask our dear friend Jesus to help us understand the gospel, the good news that comes to our hearts, that comes to our minds, so that we can, by looking at him, by looking at his example, also become an example of love and of goodness and of kindness in the world. So, dear Jesus, dear Master, dear friend, dear brother, thank you for all the blessings, for all the teachings, for all the support you've been giving us, so that we can together be stronger and walk farther to spread your love, not only through our words, but most importantly, through our actions. Bless us all and be with us now and forever. So be it. So let's invite Fabio, and then Hendrick will come too.
All right, good night, everybody. It's good to see everybody here on a Monday night. So the book we're going to be using today for our reading is The Way, the Truth, and the Life by Emmanuel and Chic Xavier. Chapter 2 is entitled Follow Me. So this is Jesus speaking to Peter in regards to John. So Jesus said to him, "If I want him to remain until I return, what is that to you? Follow me." That was registered in John chapter 21, verse 22. In communities of Christian toil, we often see co-workers who are highly concerned with the task given to other brothers and sisters of the struggle. However, we must ask ourselves how much better the world would be if everyone were completely and honestly concerned only with what was theirs to do in the common endeavor. Has one of our friends been called to fill a role that is different than ours? Let us comfort him or her with genuine understanding. Sometimes it may seem like one of them has changed somehow. Coworkers may fault him or her because of it. Some of them regard him or her as being a bearer of dangerous temptations. They jump to conclusions and rush to pass judgment. But who can really know the true cause behind it? Are we in such a lofty position that we can analyze the situation from every angle? What seems to be a familiar or desertion may actually entail a new resolution from Jesus concerning the redemption of this friend who now seems so distant. The Good Shepherd is always watching over us. He has promised that not one of us, of the sheep that were entrusted to him by the Father, will be lost. In light of this, let us do our utmost to attend to the duties that have been given to us. Each of us needs to mind the obligations that are ours alone. According to the standard of understanding and attitude, there will always be a lot of worthwhile work to be done. Thus, if to your mortal eyes a brother or sister seems to have gone astray, remember Jesus' words to the fishermen from Capernaum. What is that to you? Follow me. So I think this teaching, this gospel, this commentary from Emmanuel is very interesting because as Christians, our sole job is to follow the maxims of Christ, of the doctrine of humility, charity, benevolence, work. And when we take our time, a lot of the times to judge someone else's work or be envious, why is that person in said position? Or I think I can do this better than them. There's two issues with that. One, when we pass this judgment or we feel envious, we're not helping them. We say, oh, it's constructive criticism. No, there's a difference between criticism and judgment. Constructive criticism is always very good. Judgment is not, because it's a very low attitude. It doesn't lead to any growth. And that's the first issue. The second issue is we're not actually using the time to do our own work and to put in our own practices, right? It's very easy to criticize or to want, but I believe I think it was Gandhi who said, if you want to see a change in the world, then go out and do it yourself, right? And as spiritists, we have this knowledge, but as humans, it's a lot easier to fall into bad habits, right? So I think the important part of this message that I grasped, at least, is that I'm going to actually reread. I always love to reread certain parts of it that grasp my attention. So it says here, but who can really know the true cause behind it? Are we in such a lofty position that we can analyze the situation from every angle? It's not in our place to judge or to pass judgment on someone else, because we're not God, we're not Christ, we're not evolved beings just yet. We're still on the road to get there. So we can't see exactly how everything is playing out from every angle. We can only give our best and do our best. And when I say we, I mean myself as well included. So the message that I grasp from this week's reading really is that our job as spiritists, as Christians, is to pray, to work, to meditate, to analyze, how can I do my job? How can I do my part to benefit someone or a certain situation, right? As opposed to, in a sense, not utilizing our time in the most productive way, right? So may Jesus, hopefully I was able to be clear with my understanding of the reading. So may Jesus always bless us, help us, be in our hearts, in our minds, that we may pertain to the true work of Spiritism and of Christianity, and continue to evolve ourselves. So without any further commentary, I'd like to invite Hendrick up for our lecture tonight. Thank you so much.
Good evening. Um, wow, I happy to see everybody here. Thank you for coming tonight. Want to turn on the TV when we have a chance. I'm gonna try not to make this a lecture, but it's I'm hoping that the time that we spend here tonight, we can incite some thinking, some reflections for all of us. If there's anything in the slides or anything that I say when I say you got to do this, you have to say this, or don't ever take that as me telling you anything. It means you, just like Fabio said, it's we. It's actually it starts in we starts with myself. It starts with the person speaking. So the topic of the night follows our study of the chapter 16 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, and it's entitled True Property, or depending on the translation, True Ownership. And it's in under instructions from the spirits. If for those who are not, who may or may not be super familiar with the Gospel according to Spiritism, at the end of every chapter there are messages that were given specifically to the mediums, and to be transmitted as messages,
not compiled into knowledge as the rest of the book is. So these are usually written from a specific spirit, and there are two passages or two messages that were delivered to mediums working on the Gospel according to Spiritism with Kardec at different times. The first one will be by Pascal, and the message is given in 1860, I believe, but we'll get there. The main question I think that we want to bring tonight is and to explore the topic and just do hopefully a mental and emotional exercise is around what we truly own. What do we think we own? What is it that I truly that truly belongs to me? I want to make sure. Sometimes we have these messages. We're reading them in order, and we've been studying the Gospel according to Spiritism for a few years now, and every month we study a section of a chapter. Sometimes it might not be directly related to something that's going on in our lives, but I wanted to make sure today that we talked about or that we think about this topic in relation to where we are, and what's going on to us and to our communities and to the world today. So, the question is very simple. What do we truly own, right? But it's very profound, right? And before we really dig in too deep, I want to make sure we acknowledge that, our communities, we are mostly all in this in this place locally here, and probably those listening to the streaming or watching the video later on. I believe that most of us are immigrants or migrants. We've moved around from one place to another, and the times that we're facing these days, I think a number of us have seen neighbors, or we know of people, or we know of friends who have gone through really tremendous difficulties. Some having been moved from their homes and being sent back to their countries. We've seen some of our neighbors leave because of all the uncertainty, right? Some people are not sure what to do. Some of us are not really, as we see the news evolving, really going through an emotional roller coaster. I'm sure we're all going through that. And, I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that and try to treat this topic with that in mind, and to think of the travels that we've made in our lives, in our material lives, as migrants or as immigrants, and how that relates to the grander or the bigger travel, or the bigger life that we all belong to, the spiritual life. So before we start, I wanted to move to start with words of Jesus himself. I think the clicker will click at some point. There we go. So in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, 19 to 21, Jesus says, teaches us the following: do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So let's think about these words for a moment, right? Jesus is describing to us two different types of treasure. One kind that can be destroyed, right? Things that time will destroy because the moths and the vermin and the creatures or the critters will come in and destroy them. Or things that thieves can come in and take from us. But, and that in itself is not abstract, right? I imagine most of us have gone through the loss of something small. I imagine all of us have gone through the loss of something big to us. And so I think we all have a good, firm understanding of what it means to lose something, of earthly, of material value, right? And then, some of us have lost a job or a home or, even a sense of safety that, because of all the uncertainty of political climate or whatever. And those are all things that we can see as, the sort of treasure that can be lost, right? That's the first kind of, those are some of the treasures that Jesus is talking about here, the feeling of safety included. And one thing we can notice from this message is that Jesus doesn't really say to us, don't have treasures on earth, don't have a job, don't have safety, don't have security, don't have a home, don't provide for your kids. He's not saying any of that. And Spiritism is also not coming to tell us, hey, the spiritual life is the most important, but which means you can't really be doing anything or keeping anything for yourself. That's not what this message says at all, right? It says, do not store up your heart there. Essentially, your heart, connected to your soul, right? Connected to who you really are. That cannot be attached to those types of things that can be destroyed, can be taken away. The question then becomes, do not place your deepest sense of security in things that can be taken. So the question is then, where is your heart? Where is your treasure? The question, that's basically the question that Jesus is asking us, right? Whenever he's giving us a story, a parable, he's not really telling us a story. He's making us think. He's making us reflect on what it is that, where do we stand? What are our values? So where is our heart? Where is our treasure, right? If our heart is anchored in things that can be lost, right, then when the loss comes, we are devastated. We will suffer, right? If my heart is essentially, hey, it's having a house where I can have a family, the house burns down, we're devastated. Is that where our heart really is, right? And I think even in that example, I think it's easy for us to say, is the treasure the house, or is the treasure the family? Is the treasure what's in me, or the relationships and the love that we have for our family, right? So so if we anchor our heart on things that can be lost, we're going to be devastated. But if our heart is anchored in something eternal, in our faith, our love, in the spiritual being that we are becoming, that we are trying to grow into, then even if everything else falls, even if everything else breaks down, something essential in us remains, right? So that's what Jesus is inviting us to think, is where am I putting my heart? Um, Meaning, what are the treasures that I'm going to value? So, to bring back, and I think I touched on this, in the Gospel According to Spiritism, chapter 2, which we studied probably 10 years ago at the pace that we're going. My kingdom is not of this world, meaning what? Just to be very, state very clearly the position of Spiritism. Welcome. Earth is a temporary residence, right? We like to say that it's a place of learning, it's a place of growth, it's a place where we as spirits have come on this spiritual trip to temporarily live and to grow. But really, that the spiritual world is our true homeland and where we truly belong, right? So, Spiritism is then helping us understand what Jesus meant by his message, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So, just before we get to here, so many of us, I guess most of us, understand what it means to leave a homeland. Most of us have left a place where we started, where we were born. And, I think most of us know and understand the feeling of getting one bag or maybe a couple of bags and putting everything that we're going to take into that bag and going into the big unknown. Lots of hope, but lots of uncertainty, right? It's obviously, we know what it means to say goodbye to places and people you love. And really, we know, or we knew, and we know the feeling of going somewhere, thinking that you're going to be there permanently, right? But not really knowing for sure. And, not having certainty of where you're going to be. But, so we all know what it means to be a traveler, to go from one place to another. What really Spiritism tells us is that this is the spiritual reality for all of us, right? Where we have all traveled. We often think of life when we talk in spiritist conversations. We often think of this life as of the spiritual life as if I'm like when my life ends, when I finally comes to time that we die, that we travel to the spiritual world. But really, it's not a travel that way. It's more like the return trip, right? We have come in this direction. So, really our travel started when we came from the spiritual world to here, instead of the other way around, where we go from earth back to the spiritual world, right? So it's important for us to keep that in mind, as that will base our understanding of our true property, of true ownership, right? So when we're thinking about this in life, and we've talked about loss, and we've talked about the book you're looking for, Nancy. The book you're looking for is over there. When we think about this trip, and what happens in life, and all the uncertainty, etc., we don't really want to dismiss the pain by saying, hey, this life doesn't really matter. The life in the spiritual world is what matters. Like you've just lost your job, or you've just lost something important to you. You've just lost a person, a family member. But the spiritual world is what matters. So you can't really be suffering for that. That is not really the message, right? We can't say to those of us in an immigrant community who are going through what we're going through to say, hey, no, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the spiritual world. Really, just don't just the uncertainty that you have that you're going through here um, is not something you can give into. You know, I think a lot of us read the message and we want to think that the message is telling us that, hey, you just have to pick yourself up and not suffer. And really, that is not the invitation necessarily, right? Suffering and suffering with uncertainty, suffering with loss. That's just a human. It's in the human nature. It's a normal feeling, right? Uncertainty is painful. Losing a home, whatever, is painful. Losing a job is painful, right? We're not really being asked by Jesus or by Spiritism to really pretend that it's not painful. But it does. But Spiritism does invite us to think from a higher perspective, um, because of the fact that we are travelers from a spiritual realm into this place where we are here to learn, to grow, right? So, so I wanted to invite all of us. Like I said, it says when you think, but it's really when we think, when I think. So when I think of my life as a journey rather than a permanent home, what changes in the way I feel? What changes in the way that I think of my life in this earth? What changes, does it make me feel lighter? Does it make me um, handle loss, uncertainty in a different way? Does it make me think of others? Does it change what I give importance to? Like what feels more important to me when I'm thinking of my life as a journey, right? As me traveling versus being this person, this body that I am in here, right? So that's one of the invitations I think that is important that I wanted to for us to reflect. You know, what changes? What feels lighter, right? And these are not really questions for you all to answer, um, but I wanted to bring that up. And in the interest of time, if you're streaming, you can pause it and take a few minutes to think about it. But in the interest of time, live here, we'll continue on to the next stage. Um, Hopefully, you will all, as I will, continue to reflect on this past this conversation. But let's keep moving. So, what is true property, right? So now that we've laid out kind of, kind of the general um, aspects of Spiritism that and of Jesus's words that apply to us tonight, let's go into the words of Pascal, who is the spirit that wrote this message back in 1860 in Geneva. Right, he starts this section of the chapter saying the only true property that man can own is that which may be taken with him on leaving this world. So, actually, there's more. What is found on arrival on earth and that which is left behind on parting is enjoyed only while living here. So, not only is it giving us a sense of like what are we taking with us? What is our real true property as spiritual beings versus what we treat as our property or what we understand as a property on our day-to-day material lives, right? Think about that. When we arrived on this earth, we arrived with nothing material. When we leave, as we all will, We will take nothing material with us, right? So what can we take? Um, so he lists a few things here. I wanted to just read a little bit from his text again. I checked a couple things. It says, nothing which is for use of the body, but everything which is for use of the soul. So hopefully that helps us understand what true property means from that. What are some examples? Intelligence, knowledge, moral qualities. That is what man brings, and what the spiritual being brings and takes with them, which no one can take away, and which will be far more used in the next world than in the present one. And in his message, he says that it's up to him, or is it up? It is up to the spirit to be richer on departure than he was on arrival. Oops, did I pass it along? Yeah. Which is really our goal, right? So if we think of, so what did he list? He says intelligence, moral qualities, knowledge, right? Those are all growth. Those are all the sorts of things that we came to get and to learn and grow on earth. And so when we go back, if we have more of that, that means we will be richer than when we arrived, right? So if I've learned more in this life, that means when I go back, I will be richer. And that's the invitation that he has for us, is to be richer, right? So he says the simple worker may be far richer than the prince, right? When you go back now, right, in your trip back to the spiritual world, you will be judged by the riches that you're bringing, and the riches that you're bringing are going to be the sorts of riches that are valid out there. So, which means the simple worker may be richer than the prince. So, to help us just focus on some key aspects of this message, I brought 4 different truths that Pascal then invites us to reminds us, about true property. So true property is what we take, as I said before: intelligence, knowledge, moral qualities. These travel with us in the spiritual lives, right? So the wisdom that we gain through experience, all of the relationships that we've built, I think that's not there, but people that we have known, and we've created connections with spirits that have come across our lives. Those relationships and those moral qualities, etc., are what we're going to take with us. Here's another important aspect of this: earthly goods belong to God. Right. This is actually from a little bit from the next message as well, which we'll get to. But we are stewards. What does that mean? We are stewards. It's like we are managers of the things that God has given us on earth, right? There's a word that's common in Portuguese. It's not very common to hear in English, but usufructuaries, right? That is what we are. We are in relationship to everything that we own, or that material stuff that is part of our life today, is that we don't own anything that we have in this world. And regardless of whether we got it through our work, or whether we got it through inheritance, or through luck, right, or whichever means, we are not owners of those things. What the teaching is coming to tell us is that we are stewards. We are managing what was given to us. And just like Jesus said in the passage that I read earlier today, if God so wants to have thieves come over and take it from us, or whether a natural disaster happens, it's going to happen, right? So nothing that we think we own in this world really belongs to us. We are just taking care of it. And that's a key piece of information as we come down later to the message by a protecting spirit. We'll get there. Number three, truth number three is virtue is the currency, right? So the spiritual world will receive us, will welcome us based on the currency that we are bringing with us, and based on the virtues that we are bringing with us. So, um, you know, the spirit world receives us according to our virtues. It says so in the text. He has this analogy of a traveler that is going to a hostel, and um, and needs to pay for a room. If he's not carrying any money, and he shows up at the inn or the hostel, he's not going to get a very good room, right? But if he has a lot of currency, the currency that is accepted at the hotel or the hostel, then he gets a good room. The analogy is the same for our return to the spiritual world, right? Where we end up, what is going to happen to us is going to be it will be a part of the accounting of our virtues, right? And number four is one more. There we go. That the earthly status, our status here on earth, means nothing, right? As I said, as I showed in the previous slide, the simple worker may be far richer than the prince. Who we are, what status we carry in this world, whether you are, a prince or a pauper, right? As it says here, there is that has no value in where we're going to end up or go back to, right? So, Pascal says then, in vain may the wealthy person claim they paid for their entrance in gold, right? And we see this, unfortunately, in some of our lesser, our brothers, in churches that sell your plot of land or your apartment in heaven, right? There are definitely lots of faith based institutions that will take your money because telling you that your money is buying you a place in heaven, right? But really, as Pascal comes to tell us, no one may buy a place here. It must be conquered by each person by means of doing good to others, right? By means of their virtues. And so, some of us have lost a lot, and some of us have lost jobs, etc. The reality is none of that which was lost was ours to begin with, because God would not let us lose something that does belong to us. And if we've lost it, it means that we were just stewards, we were just managers of that, right? So in the next message in this chapter that we are studying today, this protecting spirit in 1861 says earthly goods belong to God, who distributes them in accordance to his wishes. A property is only legitimately acquired when during its acquisition there has been no harm done to anyone. That's something to remember. And then it says, if, however, the property be used exclusively for the satisfaction of pride and senses, or if they become the cause of failures, then it would have been better not to have received them, seeing that what is gained on the one hand is lost on the other, so annulling all the merit for the work. In this case, upon leaving the earth, God will say that the recompense has already been received, right? So, we talk about trials and we talk about how when we come to earth, we're going to go through trials and atonement. Um, and, we think of uh, um, goods, earthly goods, as part of our trials and atonements because of the effect that they have in our possibility of growth, or, as it says here, in the case of failure, the possibility that we may have just wasted a lot of time by coming here, enjoying the earthly goods, right? To keep using the same words, um, and not returning and returning without um, having done anything with them, right? And so if we've already taken everything from it and we essentially used it for satisfaction of our pride and our senses, that means then that there's not a lot that we are going to get back from how we treated those things in this earth. So, um, you know, so earthly goods are those which can be taken away. What is really then true property, right? And there are some more examples that we can talk about, right? Our our courage, right? Our faith, our love, what we do for others, what we do for our community, the way we treat um, our family, the way we treat those around us, right? Our perseverance, our intelligence, our kindness, those all belong to us. Um, nobody, um, nobody can take away our our character. Right? We build our character. We build our our virtues. Nobody can deport our virtues. Right? Nobody can steal it from us. Um, so just trying to see if we can go to the next one. Oh, here we go. Oops. Sorry. Gosh. Here. Um, let us be honest here. Then, knowing that earthly goods are not really our goal, right? Amounting treasures and gold, that's not our real goal. And knowing that the spiritual life is where we belong, that's really not enough for us to uh, to think that pain is not going to be. I mean, that loss is not going to be painful, right? Understanding that we are just traveling into this world is not really helping us. It doesn't really help us not suffer, right? So I wanted to bring this part here from the item 18 from chapter 5 of the Gospel According to Spiritism, where um, it's entitled "Blessed are the Afflicted." And it says, "You have heard it said many times that he does not put a heavy burden on weak shoulders. The burden is always in proportion to the strength, just as the recompense depends on the degree of resignation and courage." So, we've been talking about uncertainty, we've been talking about loss, um, and how we deal with loss, how we deal with our afflictions is really critically important to the way that we will also, arrive in the next in return to the spiritual life, right? Um, the burden is always in proportion to the strength. We don't mean to say that um, we all have to suffer, and suffering is a part of life, and so just put your head down and suffer. That's not what we're saying. But it is important to have faith in God, have faith that as part of our learning, as part of our trip to come here to the earth and learn and grow, we will be given trials, and we will be given opportunities for atonement, which will be painful, which will be often difficult, and they may be seen as something that is more than I can handle, more than you can handle, more than any of us can handle. The reality is, and I think that's the message here, both from Jesus, but really brought to light by Kardec, brought to light by the spirits, is that any burden that we go through is really proportional to our strength. So if there is a loss, if there's uncertainty, that at first, trusting God, trusting and having faith that it's not more painful than we can handle is the first thing that we can sort of try to reassure ourselves, right? God does not give us more than we can bear. Whatever we're facing is proportional to our strength. But there's another side to this. Courage and resignation are essential, right? In that same chapter, he says, let me see, I think I may have it here. Actually, there's this question here. What's the purpose of trials of life? I think this was supposed to be in the before the previous one. Trials in our life to purify the spirit consists in the vicissitudes one must endure. The atonement is always the suffering that results. Trials are not punishment. They are opportunities for growth, right? So when we say that the earth is a place for trials and atonement, it's really an opportunity for growth. And, we talked about in the previous one. Now, hopelessness, the text actually says despondency. I wanted to bring a word that hopefully is easier for us to understand. Hopelessness, the loss of hope, giving up, is really a fault. And this is part of that same item in Gospel according to Spiritism. And the message says loss of hope, desperation, deep grievances is a fault, and God will refuse consolation to those who lack courage. So it may make us feel like we're apologizing for suffering, that maybe Spiritism or even Jesus is apologizing for suffering, or making an apology, right? Which is not really the case, right? It's just telling us that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond, right? We can't control how a government is going to treat us, whether that government is fair, unfair, whether we're going through, questions of legality or illegality. We really can't control it, right? But we can control how we respond. And I think that's what that message brings us, right? It's courage in the face of adversity is very difficult. But that's part of our growth. It's part of the reason why we have come to this world, which is to learn. So we're not really talking about like trying to find blame or anything. It's more about trying to learn how we let those circumstances, or how we let the loss, or how we let the uncertainties shape us, right? Loss is real. Fear is real. Grief is real. We all feel these things. It's normal. It's human, right? But then we ask ourselves, what am I building through this loss? What am I building through this fear? Who am I becoming? Which is really the main question in why are we here on this earth, right? How am I growing? there are two paths to think when we face adversity. One is to be hopeless, is to give in to despair, is closing our heart and hardening our heart against the world. The other is to deepen our faith, to be stronger in our compassion, um, and to apply what we learn to others. Right? It's often that we can see that despite my loss, my neighbor may be their loss may be worse. Right? If I can help, uh, because I've known what it feels like to lose, I can also be compassionate. I can also become the kind of person who can comfort those around me because I have been comforted by others in the past. Um, you know, taking the opportunity uh, and learning from what happens to us, learning from the difficulty, and then passing that along and moving it forward so that I become more compassionate, I become more helpful to others. That's avenue number two, and that's the avenue that Spiritism and the true Christian message wants from us, right? So I'm going to skip this one because we're kind of running out of time. Um, I wanted to um, bring us back to um, where we started, sort of with Matthew's or Jesus's message in Matthew 6:21. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Um, so, I hope that tonight we've been reminded of a profound truth that we are travelers, right? What we own on this earth, what we have today, we are only usufructuaries. We are managers of what we own, managers of what we have. We are not owners of anything material. And, I hope that we've learned also that the question is not if we will face loss, if we will face uncertainty. It's quite possible that we will continue to face uncertainty for many months and for years to come, directly related to us and our situation as migrants to a different land. But you know, um, hopefully we can see that we are truly migrants to this earth, right? We do not belong here. We are here to learn. It is the life that we know, and for many reasons, it may feel like it's the only life there is. And it does require us to have faith in the more important life, the spiritual life. But you know, uh, hopefully, we've been able to see that we that our treasure is who we're growing up to be, who we're becoming. How much love am I giving away? How much of my time am I applying into growing myself morally, intellectually? How much am I continuing to learn to love? Um, and how much am I enriching myself, right? In going back, before I go back to the main um, life in the spiritual realm, right? What am I being, um, and what am I doing in this life? So I hope that I can leave this invitation to all of us to really think about. This is one where I made sure that it says I. So it's a question that you can ask yourselves and that we should all ask ourselves is what am I building in this life that I'm going to be able to take with me? How am I going to be richer when I leave than when I arrived? Let us leave this earth more rich. Let us live rich in all sorts of things that we probably are not right now. For me, let me try to leave here richer in patience, right? Richer in kindness, richer in faith, in love. Let us all try to be richer in all of these virtues, not in dollars, but in the virtues that we came here to learn. And so, with this reflection or this invitation, I leave everyone, um, and I hope that this was a good opportunity for you all, as it was for me. Thank you very much for being here. I hope may God bless us with His love, and let's keep getting richer in in the spiritual way. Thank you. Have a good night.
There you go. I hope everybody is a little bit richer tonight than they were before we started. Um, Thank you all for coming, and I have to say thank you to the ones who were watching live our our presentation, and that maybe you can come back later physically, but also if you're not here and you want to watch it, we'll be online. Um, like I said in the beginning, we'll be online always. You just have to go to our channel on YouTube, or for that matter, you can also go to our website, cantinhodeluis.net, and you have all the programming, you have all the everything that's happening that week and the weeks following and so on. But also now, if you want to watch our meetings in English, you can also go to Kardec Radio. You can go to their YouTube channel, which is Kardec Radio on YouTube. You just search on YouTube, you'll find the channel, and they have tons of things to watch, to learn. They have audiobooks, they have lectures on books, they have um, oh, their programming is like 24 hours. We have so much material in English there. And why do we do this? I mean, we are here in the United States, right? And that's, um, although some people say that there's no official language in the United States, but uh, the official language is English. So we should all strive to learn a little bit more and more and more so that we feel comfortable while talking to other people. And why not also learn a little bit of Spiritism also in the English language? And that's one of the reasons why we do it here. So we know a little bit more of vocabulary. We know a little bit more about if we need to talk to someone about it, even if we don't know how to say it. Maybe we know who to look for, or say, hey, you can look for this book, or you can look for, right? So it's always good to have that, and hopefully we can have more people that only speak English, which I don't see anybody that only speaks English here. But it would be good to have more people that speak English so that they can also learn a little bit more. Next month, and I confirmed with her, for those who were here in December, we invited our dear friend Eric from the group in Fitchburg, Amalia Domingo Soler. They are a group of Hispanics. They are from, basically most of them are from Puerto Rico. So they do their Spiritist meetings in Portuguese or in Spanish and in English, sometimes at the same time. If some people can only understand English, they switch back and forth between Spanish and English, which is a very, very interesting thing. But most of them speak both languages anyways. So Eric came here last month to give a lecture to us about about prayer. and it was our last topic here. Then we have Hendrick, who uh, gave lots of lectures before, but was like in a sabbatical period. Let's call it that way. And he was not coming for a very long time due to work-related issues. But now, hopefully, he'll be back more often, maybe once or twice a year. And next month, we invited, and she agreed. She is her name is Maria Plummer, and she's also from the same group in Fitchburg, and she will come talk to us about love. So next month, Maria will be here to talk to us about love, and we will also be live on Kardec Radio as well. So our announcements for tonight are just to remind everyone of the God at Home or Gospel at Home. We take one day a week so that we can sit in our houses, get a book of messages, either the Gospel according to Spiritism or get a message book like the one that Fabio read here tonight, The Way, the Truth, and the Light, or Spring of Life, or Our Daily Bread, or the Gospel According to Spiritism. We sit, we do a prayer, and then we read, we discuss, we talk about it so that we can invite the good spirits to our house. And then that's an invitation for all of us. Once a week, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It doesn't take too long for us to do it. Our meetings are Mondays and Saturdays at the same time at 7 p.m. Most of them are in Portuguese, but this one is in English. And this weekend and next weekend, we're going to have this Saturday and next Saturday, we're going to have Roberto Barbosa. Roberto Barbosa is a medium that he does healing, no touching healings. And he will also be here to give lectures. So this next Saturday, he's going to be here to talk about action and reaction. The week after, he's going to talk about love as well. But he will be here in the afternoons to, oh yeah, love disperses pain. And but he's going to be here from 2 to 5 in the afternoon this Saturday and next Saturday for two different types of spiritual surgeries. It's a non-touch spiritual surgery. You come, but I mean, I'm not going to explain everything here. We don't have enough time to do that. But if you're interested and if you want to know a little bit more after we're done, there's people that can talk. We can talk about it. We can explain a little bit here, and we still have places because we there's a limited number of people that can be here at the same time. So if you want to, if you're interested, just talk to us, Fabricio, or whoever is here. We can explain a little bit more about it. So it will be this next Saturday on the 17th and on the 24th. So if you want to know more, once again, just talk to us. And I guess for tonight, that's it. We'd like to thank everyone who were live, who were online, for the ones who are watching this later. Thank you for watching, and thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. And my next objective, my next goal is uh, that I'm not here. My next goal is that I am not here, that there's someone here. Because I've been doing this for just such a long time that I am tired of myself. I don't, you are probably even more tired of me than I, but I mean, our people. I love that Fabio was here. And read it and gave a talk. So it is good. It is refreshing that we have different people talking and spreading the word. And that's why I'm so happy that Kardec Radio is with us, because we have more people that gonna be able to watch it. They're gonna be able to see it, and maybe it will, get more people to be enthusiastic about it and be here and talk. It's I loved when I first got here, and let me just say this so we can finish. I loved when I got here in the United States, 2004. So it's been what, 20, 21 years, whatever it is. And and I started like listening to things. I would get like books, or I would get audiobooks, or I would listen to things on YouTube or whatever it was available. And it doesn't matter if it was spiritist or not spiritist. I just wanted to get more used to the sound of the language, to know a little bit more, to get into the rhythm. Sometimes it's hard. I mean, we have two friends here that come from Portugal. I have a very interesting story. First time I was in a house, and there was a TV on, but I was not watching. I could not see the TV. I was only hearing. So the TV was on the other side, and I knew that I heard the sound. I heard people speaking, but couldn't I couldn't understand what they were saying. And then I was so bothered by that I stood, and I was with some friends. I stood and said, "Hey, give me a minute." And then I went to the living room, and I started seeing the TV. When I look at the TV, I understand everything that's written, because everything was written in Portuguese. But I couldn't understand what they were saying. They were speaking the same language as I'm speaking. But because of the rhythm, because of the pronunciation of the words, it's a little bit different. Our ears are not used to it. Learning a language has a lot to learn to do with getting the rhythm of the language. That's why some people say that they find that it's easy. Portuguese or Brazilian people find it easier for me to understand what I am saying, because maybe my rhythm is more Portuguese than English. Then it's easier for everybody that are not English speakers as a first language to understand me, because my rhythm is a little bit different than just a regular, English. But what I want to say is, going back to my story, is I would get a lot of stuff to hear. And then one day I said, I'm going to listen to the Dalai Lama. So I used to love to read his stuff in Portuguese, but I said, I want to hear him speaking, because he has a lot of stuff that he comes to the US and then he speaks English. That's how he does it. And then when I heard him for the first time, I said, why do people why don't people speak more English? Because they say, "Oh, I don't know how to speak English. I don't know what to say." I Go listen to how the Dalai Lama speaks. You're gonna see the accent. You're gonna see words that you never hear, because he's not an English speaker. He was not born here. He learned how to speak English, but he doesn't. In a certain way, he doesn't really care. He just speaks because he wants to get his message out. So it's the same with us, right? So we are here, we are living here. So I'm glad that we have more people, deciding to talk or joining us, and do more in English for this for us to spread Jesus's message, actually. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with Cantinho and sticking to us. Once again, thank you, Kardec Radio, for being with us. And let's do just a final quick prayer so that we can all uh, get ready to go back home, safe and sound, in this little cold and chilly times that we are living right now, but knowing that we are so warm on the inside with all the love and all the blessings that we've been receiving, and saying, Jesus, dear friend, our brother, our caring and loving companion, we would like to thank you for all the blessings that we've been receiving here, there, and everywhere. May we notice your blessings. May we notice that we need, as we heard tonight, to increase our properties, but our true properties, the amount of love that we have and that we share, the amount of courage that we have and that we share, the perseverance of being good, or doing the best that we can. Thank you for helping us. Thank you for sticking to us. Thank you for being on our sides, so that we can always be with you, spreading the word and spreading the good deeds of love, of kindness in this world. So be it. So I guess that's it. Thank you for coming. Are we done? We have to pass